Today's target will be graphing lines. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to graph a line from slope-intercept form. This will be the first of 2 videos that we have on graphing lines. We're going to learn about 2 different ways that we graph lines. Today we're going to talk about slope-intercept form. Before we can talk about our slope-intercept form, we need to go over some prior knowledge. So you should have learned how to, back in middle school, back in pre-algebra, to graph a line using a table of values. So what I want you to do is I want you to create a table of values for the equation below. Sorry, that should just say equation. There's only one of them. And I want you to graph those points. So if you feel comfortable doing that, go ahead and pause the video to create your table, and then press play when you're finished. This is what your line should look like. Your points may be a little bit different than mine. You could have different x values, which will then give you different y values when you plug them into your equation. But it should look like that line. If this is not familiar to you, or you don't remember this from last year, don't worry. What we're going to talk about is a different way that we can graph lines. So our goal today is to look at slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. You need to make sure you familiarize yourself with this notation. You will see this a lot. We will use this a lot during this year, and you will see it again over the next few years. So y equals mx plus b. We've seen y, and we've seen x. We need to talk about these new variables, m and b. M is the slope. Whatever number or fraction is in front of the x, it tells you what the slope is. When we are graphing, the m stands for move. M, or the slope, tells us how to move. The b value is the y-intercept. Or in other words, where does the graph cross the y-axis? The b, when we graph, tells us where to begin. We always start at the y-intercept. So make sure that's in your notes. Make sure you got m is the slope, and it tells you how to move. B is the y-intercept, and it tells you where to begin. So let's look at an example. Here we have y equals mx plus b. Okay, so in this case, our m, our slope, is 2/3. And remember from the last video that slope is rise over run. It's going to be very important. And we see that our b value is 4. So the b tells us where to begin. And this is your y-intercept. So we begin on the y-intercept at 4. So we're going to start by putting a point here on the y-axis at 4. Always start on the y-axis. B is always found on your y-axis. So we start there. Now we're going to look at our slope. Our slope is 2/3. So from that point, we're going to rise 2 and run 3 to get our next point. Now we can do that again. We can go up 2 and over 3 to get another point. We can also go the opposite way. We can go down 2 and left 3 to get another point, making sure that they're all in line. And we're going to connect our points, making sure to draw an arrow on each end. Now, when you graph your lines, what I want you to do before you turn the page, before you go to the next problem, I want you to check and say, okay, does my slope match what I've done on my graph? So in other words, this is a positive slope. We learned with our last video that a positive slope means that we should be going uphill. So we want to check and make sure, yes, we drew this line going uphill, so it has a positive slope of 2 over 3. Okay? Let's look at a second example. This time our m is negative 1/2, and our b is negative 1. B tells us where to begin. So we're going to start here at a y value of negative 1. This time our slope is negative, so we need to make sure that our line goes down. So with the last example, we went up 1 and over 2. This time we're going to go down 1 and over 2 to get our next point. We could go down 1 and over 2 again. And you could keep doing that, keep going down 1 and over 2. Remember, you can also go in the opposite direction. You could go up 1, but this time we have to go left 2 to make them stay in line. We're going to draw our line, making sure we put arrows on both ends, and then checking to make sure. Negative means downhill. And sure enough, we drew our line going downhill. So it's always important to check to make sure that your graph matches your slope. One more example. So we have y equals 3x. We still have y equals mx plus b. Whenever you've got the y equals, you know it's mx plus b. So this time our m is 3, and our b, well, what's our b? What do we have here? We have nothing. So it's plus 0. So our b value is 0. Remember, this tells us where to begin. So we begin at a y value of 0, which is right here. And then our move. Now, the first two what we've seen have been a fraction, rise over run. Here we just have an integer. So we want to rewrite this as 3 over 1. So now we can see that we rise 3 and we run 1. So from that point, we're going to go up 3 over 1. And there's our next point. We do it again. Up 3 over 1. And we can go the opposite way. We can go down 3 and left 1. And then lastly, we're going to check. We've got a positive slope. And our slope, our line, is going uphill. Remember from the last video, we always read the graph from left to right. So we start at the leftmost point, and we read to the right, and our graph is going uphill, so we did it correctly. So now here you have 3 examples. I want you to do these 2 problems on your own, so make sure you use the examples that you've seen. In addition to graphing the lines, I want you to tell me what the slope and the y-intercept is. You can abbreviate it as m and b, like we did on the examples. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and pause the video, do your work, and when you're ready, press play, and the answers will come up. Here are your solutions. For the first problem, you had a slope of 4/3 and a y-intercept of -2. So you start at -2 on the y-axis. That's where we started right here. And from there, we're going to go up 4 at over 3. Number 2, we had a slope of -2 over 1 and a y-intercept of 3. So we start here at our y-intercept of 3. And we're going to go down 2 over 1, making sure that our slope or our line is negative, so it's going downhill. Make sure if you have any questions from the video that you write them down in your notes so that you can get them answered next class. This is a nice short video, so I will see you guys next time.